There's one important thing Auburn fans need to think about during Saturday's game against Texas A&M.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yahtzee.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a Crain Kick Thursday. We're joined by Jake Crain of Crain and Company, and you had a great monologue on your show earlier this week. You put it out on social media as well, kind of sending a message to Auburn fans saying, hey, if Auburn does trip up and lose against the Texas A&M Aggies on Saturday, everything's still okay, Jake.
Yeah, and listen, part of it, I said it's kind of a complex equation at a place like Auburn because the standard is really high, and it should be really high. We've talked about it on the show before. If the standard falls, then there's no way you can compete at the level that Auburn wants to compete when you're having to go up against the Georgias and Bamas and LSUs and all that. But you also have to understand reality. You got to be able to look, what I say on the show, you got to be able to see the beach through the forest. And, just the vibe. Obviously you can feel it. I can feel it. Everybody listening to this right now can feel how aligned Auburn is and how much true excitement there is for the future. How you look at recruiting, the way it's going right now, what Hugh Freeze and his staff have been able to do. You look at the donors and people in the NIL space and how everybody who needs to be together is together because the future looks bright and you're not having to manufacture hope. With Brian Harsin, you were hopeful because you were hoping. Those are two totally different things. And it felt like Auburn was splintered. That it was a fractured fan base. You had people that didn't believe, whether that be big money people or just fans that watched the game on TV. And it's hard to win when everybody, I'm not trying to be a poet here, isn't all in. And this game Saturday against A&M, and another thing we talked about on Crain and Company was like this year will be and I don't want to make it sound like Auburn's bad, but the worst team that Hugh Freeze probably has at Auburn during his tenure, honestly, because there's so many moving parts. It's brand new. You had to bring in guys from the transfer portal, and A&M has been able to stack recruiting class on recruiting class on recruiting class. They've had a lot of continuity, even though A&M fans are about tired of this continuity, but it's just the truth. Now, A&M hasn't broken through, and Auburn can win this game. I'm not saying Auburn can't win this game, but if it's ugly, if Auburn doesn't look good, if Auburn loses, it is not the end of the world because the future is bright. And sometimes you've got to take a few lumps to get where you want to go. I mean, I go back, and I'm not saying Hugh Freeze is Nick Saban. They lost to Louisiana Monroe in year one. Like the trajectory of Auburn is so much better right now than it was even a year ago before Hugh Freeze was hired. So this is what I suggest to Auburn fans. Have the game on. Obviously, I know you will. But have your computer up. Have that commitment list up. So every time something bad happens and you get upset and you're like, oh, man, Auburn's terrible. This was the worst hire ever of all time. Go ahead and look at that commitment list. Look at those players. Look at what Auburn is bringing in. So, again, Auburn can win.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying they can't. But at the end of the day, Auburn is on the right track, and they're in great hands for the future.
I thought Auburn was a 7-5 team going into the season. After they beat Cal on the road, I thought they were a 7-5 team on the season, and I think they're a 7-5 team on the season going into Texas A&M. In my preseason predictions, I have them losing the next 4 games. I had them losing to Texas A&M. I had them losing to Georgia, at LSU, and Ole Miss at home. And then that 5th game was the Iron Bowl, which I actually feel better about now than I did. And so now I think even if Auburn does go on this 4-game skid that I kind of thought they would going into the season, this can still be an 8-4 team because this 4-game stretch is brutal for anyone because you just mentioned stacking recruiting classes. Well, Georgia's certainly been able to do that at a higher level than Texas A&M has, and their players get better and actually use their 4- and 5-star talents effectively. And the same with LSU, right? This team won the SEC West a year ago, and they brought a lot of pieces back, and other than that slip up against FSU, they've looked solid since then. And so like the road over the next month for Auburn football is difficult, but I do think it's important to have proper I guess, perception on what all's going on, or perspective, excuse me, on what's going on over the next few weeks.
No, without a doubt. Again, reality has to be understood. I mean, depth, first of all. Auburn's getting some guys back, and that's great. But in the long run, in the scheme of things, in the battle of attrition that is the Southeastern Conference and is high-level Power 5 football and really football in general,
sure.
Auburn, that's the hardest thing to build, that and culture. And they're doing both of those things. And again, I don't want to make this sound like, oh, well, the expectation at Auburn should be, well, we're going to lose this game. It doesn't matter if we lose. It always matters who wins or loses. There is no such thing as a moral victory, but there is perspective, a word that you mentioned. There is being able to look to the future and not feel like you're on the Brian Harston hamster wheel or the Harston hostage crisis, and that actually Auburn, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm going to say this, Zach, don't let them go win this game. You let them go win this game, and that confidence really, rises, and some players start to, not that they don't believe, but really start to play at a high level. I'm telling you right now, I picked Auburn to go 8-4 before the season. Okay. I had them win the Iron Bowl. I had Bama going 9-3, and people looked at me like I had 3 arms growing out of my head. And there's a long way to go. Alabama can fix a lot of things. But right now, I'm looking around the rest of the Southeastern Conference. And while Auburn may not have the best personnel, and they don't, they can sneak around if they eliminate the turnovers. I know we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the game. Yeah. But this team could go win this game. And if they do, and they get to 4-0, you better strap in, because it's about to get real wonky in a good way for Auburn this year.
You're going to buy or sell this statement that I'm about to throw at you. If Auburn wins Saturday, 9-3 is a totally realistic option for this football team.
Oh, I'm going to buy it. The way I look at it, again, when you break down the schedule, at A&M and Arkansas is not looking nearly as crazy as what it did with their lack of ability up front on both sides of the ball. If they're able to split win one of the 3 at A&M, at LSU, or at Arkansas, I think they're going to beat Vanderbilt on the road. You win the Iron Bowl, you sweep the non-conference. I mean, you play both Mississippi schools at home. Mississippi State don't scare me, at least not right now.
They look bad right now.
To transitory period that they're in. Ole Miss, we're going to find out a lot more about Ole Miss, but I watched Tulane punk them up front. I was just waiting for Ashton Kutcher and the cameras to run out in the field and let us know it was just a joke. Not that Tulane's a bad team, but one of Ole Miss's strengths was supposed to be the offensive line, but we'll find out a lot more this weekend. Now, they win this one. 9-3 is not out of the realm. I'll buy it. I'm all in on it.
All right, so how can Auburn win on Saturday? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Frisky Whiskey. It's the best place to buy all of your alcohol, whether it's whiskey or your bourbon or wine, beer, tequila, vodka. If you're one of those crazy people that enjoy vodka, just kidding, it's fine. But seriously, check out Frisky Whiskey. All you have to do is hop on I-85 if you're in the Auburn, Opelika County area. As soon as you hop into the state of Georgia, you will see billboards pointing you in the right direction. Or, of course, you can type in Frisky Whiskey into your phone's GPS. Or on the other side of things, if you're in Atlanta and you're heading into town to tailgate or just visiting Auburn or whatever people do, just want to go look at Toomer's Corner. That's a thing that people in Atlanta do. Stop by Frisky Whiskey on your way in. It's the best prices guaranteed, the best selection guaranteed. It's 10,000 square feet of selection and alcoholic goodness. So be sure to check out our friends at Frisky Whiskey. Once again, there's billboards all over the place, or just type in Frisky Whiskey into your phone's GPS. Also, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. Jace Medical has a product called the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics to use for emergency use. All it takes to get the Jace Case is to fill out a simple online form, and in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our board-certified physicians, and you can get ongoing care from the physicians on any treatment-related questions. It's doctor-certified, doctor-recommended. They understand the issues that some folks need as far as getting medications consistently, and that's not always easy to do with shortages as well as supply chain issues. And so Jace Case wants to help you with all that. You just go online, you fill out a form, you get prescription, your life-saving medications right to your door. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That is spelled Jase medical.com. Jake Crain, our guest of Crain and Company. Auburn can win on Saturday, Jake, but they have to do blank.
Well, the first thing you do, it's what you always have to do, especially on the road. You got to play clean. You know, they've got to eliminate the turnovers. There's a saying in baseball that you make the routine plays routine. They got 27 outs. Don't give them 28 outs. Don't give A&M any reason to be able to survive in a game that they don't play well. Well, how do you do that? Well, you don't beat yourself. I think one of the things Colorado, not to digress too much, but one of the most impressive things that Prime's done at Colorado with all these new guys is they don't really beat themselves. They let other teams beat themselves. And in the game of football, I don't think a lot of people realize most teams lose games. They don't win them. And if Auburn can go play clean and not turn the ball over and make the field goals and play clean on special teams and not have a bunch of penalties, especially on big plays that extend drives, Auburn can hang around in this game. That's the first thing I look at. The second thing is there's a lot of pressure on A&M in this game. Make no mistake. Auburn's almost playing with free money. This is almost a house money situation. We've seen the reports from Bruce Feldman and all these guys that the boosters at A&M, they've gotten their piggy banks together, and Daniel Day-Lewis from There Will Be Blood put his money in there, and they're willing to buy Jimbo out at any point now if it doesn't go the way that they feel like it should be going. And don't think the players don't know that. I'm not saying Jimbo's going up in front of the team saying, guys, if we don't win, they're going to fire me, so you better play good. No, but they're human beings. They hear this. The longer Auburn hangs around in this game, and if Auburn's able to walk into the prison yard and throw the first punch, you're going to start to see that pressure on A&M. You're going to be able to feel it in the stadium. You'll be able to feel it in the crowd. You'll be able to see it in the players. So that's use that against them. Use their own pressure against them. Not that there's not pressure on Auburn, but the pressure on A&M is immense compared to what it is on Auburn. And then go ahead.
Well, I just want to echo that point. It just feels like this fan base is ready to turn on Jimbo Fisher. It just feels like if Auburn can go into there and score a touchdown and then force, a 3-and-out or vice versa, force a 3-and-out, then get the ball and go score a touchdown. I just feel like that fan base is gonna panic. I feel like they're gonna get ready to throw things at Jimbo and run him out of town. And I think if Auburn can punch him in the mouth quickly, that could really, really make things go their way over the course of 60 minutes.
Oh, it reminds me of the Gladiator when Boy's got his thumb up like this, and you don't know if he's going to be like, let him live or let him die. That's kind of where it is. They're in limbo right now. Schematically, Zach, one of the key things is Peyton Thorne's got to be a great speed reader. He's got to be a great speed reader this week. He cannot make the same misreads. And look, nobody's perfect. You're not going to make the perfect read every time. Nobody's saying that. But he's got to hit at a 95% clip this week. He's got to be able to give it when he's supposed to give it, keep it when he's supposed to keep it and throw it when he's supposed to keep it and throw it. He has got to keep that A&M front seven off balance. And really, in the reality of it, I don't think A&M's played that great up front on either side of the ball. Now, don't be lulled to sleep by that Miami game. I think that game said more about Miami than it did about A&M. I think Miami's legitimately for real. They've got NFL players all over that roster and all over that defense and really on that offensive line. They're just really young. But A&M's not running the ball well. A&M isn't running the ball the way that I thought, and a lot of people thought that this offensive line that's been growing up together that we know is talented would be able to do it. And they've got some backs that are very capable. But here's what scares me, Zach, as an Auburn fan, is that if Auburn is able to shut down the run, what is the one thing that me and you and we've been talking about every week on here that worries us about Auburn? It's the pass rush. Just because you make a team one-dimensional doesn't mean you kill them. Connor Wegman's really good. That wide receiver group is really good. They have a very capable tight end. If Auburn can shut down the run, that's great. But they have got to be able to get to him, because if they do not get to him and this play gets extended inside the pocket and outside the pocket and he's getting clean reads and he feels comfortable, A&M's going to be able to score points. So it's one thing to make a team one-dimensional. It's another thing to step on their throat with your foot once you make them one-dimensional. That's something I'm looking at this weekend as well.
Yeah, what does Ron Roberts do to help with the pass rush? Because I don't think Auburn can get there with 4 traditionally. They're going to have to do a lot of stunts. They're going to have to send guys. I expect to see a bunch of creepers as far as, bunch of guys are at the line of scrimmage, but we don't know who's coming. We don't know who's coming. You make this offensive line, this A&M offensive line, make decisions pre-snap and communicate and over-communicate and just hope something slips through the cracks. And then you look up and Connor Wegman's got Marcus Harris all over him. Like, I mean, that's what you have to do.
You got to turn it into a poker game. Am I bluffing? Am I not bluffing? I'm showing pressure. Am I bringing the pressure? I'm showing pressure. Am I dropping the pressure? I'm showing the same look, giving you a different look. I'm showing the same look, giving you the same look. It's got to be a mixed bag, and that's what Ron Roberts is really good at. Yeah. You want to be able to get Connor to put the ball in harm's way because the secondary really is the strength of this defense. Now, the question is, if the secondary is truly the strength of this defense, at some point you say, man, listen, we're going to lock up in man. We're going to bring the heat. If you're going to beat us, you're going to have to stab us in the heart. And that's a decision that I'm looking to see kind of how Ron Roberts plays that, especially with some of the guys that are getting back.
Yeah, DJ James has been playing out of his mind. Jalen Simpson
NFL player
playing out of his mind. Donovan Kaufman missed last week due to a concussion stuff, it sounds like, against Cal. But before that, was playing out of his mind. Keontae Scott has been. He's out for a bit, but I think Donovan Kaufman at the star/nickel is going to be okay. But I just think when you look at all of these guys, like, okay, I think they're ready. And they're starting to finally get some respect. The Senior Bowl saying, hey, we may invite the entire Auburn defensive back room to Mobile to work out for NFL scouts. Like, they've got to know what's at stake here. They have to. Yeah. And this is going to be their biggest stage of the year so far. This is a group that's grown up together for the most part. I just think this is about to be a huge statement. Nehemiah Pritchett, we think we're getting him back. Kayan Lee's one of the best freshman corners I've ever seen. Like, there's just a lot going on in this room. And I think they know that they have a tremendous opportunity in front of them this weekend.
Yeah, they do. But here's the thing, and you know this, and I'm talking about against the pass. You can only cover somebody for so long, especially Evan Stewart and Anais Smith and Noah Brown. Like, I don't care if you got Deion Sanders and Darrell Rebus and everybody back there. If this play's going 6, 7, 8 seconds, somebody's going to be open because it's impossible to cover somebody that long. There's been a lot of very average secondaries look really good because the front seven could get after the passer. There's been a lot of really good secondaries that look pretty average because the front couldn't get there. This game's going to come down to can Auburn get to them. I'm not worried about the first 3.5, 4 seconds of the play. What I'm worried about is when it gets elongated to 4.5 and 5 and 5.5, and Wegman breaks contain and he keeps his eyes down the field. And you got Evan Stewart streaking across the field, or Anais Smith running a vertical down the field. That's the part that scares me because you can only control so much in that secondary. So again, yeah, it's a huge game. They got to come out and play well. But if that defensive line's able to cause havoc, if they're able to get back there and get Connor off his spot, I think you're going to see that secondary really play at a high level.
Yeah, Jalen McLeod seems like he's okay. He practiced earlier this week. It seems like he'll play, which is huge.
You got to go. McAllister, all these guys, y'all got to go. Y'all got to go get it. There's a bag of money laying on the field in College Station on Kyle
Go grab
Field.
it.
Who's going to bend down and grab the bag? That's Falk. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you're 16 or you're 62. Get your hand in the dirt, stand up, get in a 2-point, whatever you feel, and go get them. I would just, if it was me, and Auburn's coaching staff's incredible, I would just literally, after we get done with our meetings, I would just have videos of lions chasing, antelopes and stuff in the Serengeti and tackling them. I would totally Mugatu this whole thing.
I love it. I love that. All right, so who will win? What will happen on Saturday? We share our thoughts and guesses next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We've talked about it all week. Auburn is a 7.5-point dog, according to our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. If you love the Tigers, hey, now's your time. Now's your time because that money line, Auburn money line, is looking sweet right now. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guarantee when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season, the college season, whatever it may be. FanDuel, they're the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Final few minutes with Jake Crain of Crain and Company. I do not think Auburn wins on Saturday. I'm not confident. I'm not betting A&M -7.5. I'm just not. But I don't think Auburn wins on Saturday against the Texas A&M Aggies. I think talent in the trenches is going to be a problem.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's There's a difference in what you think's going to happen and what you want to happen. I always say on the show, if I wanted to make people happy, I'd sell ice cream and cookies for a living. But I don't. And this is something that, I always like to be realistic. I don't want anybody going in there with singing, hey, I'm guaranteeing Auburn's going to win this game. And look, Auburn can win this game. Auburn does 100%. Have the capability to win this game. Do they have to catch a couple breaks? Probably. Do guys have to play, punch above their weight a little bit in some spots? Definitely. But I do think A&M wins this game. I think there's so much riding on it. I think you're going to see A&M play with a sense of urgency. I'm actually interested to see if they go up tempo on offense early. They've been going a little bit faster than they have in the past. This game feels like a 31-20 type game to me. I feel like A&M does cover. I got it at 6.5. I hate 7.5. That number with the hooks, like 3.5, just does me no good. But I think Auburn shows up and fights. But Zach, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I get to come on here next week. I would love to be wrong about this. We're all a fan of somebody, but it's going to be really tough going to College Station. But if anybody can get these guys ready to play, if anybody can go in there, and take one, it's Hugh Freeze and this coaching staff, because those guys believe in there. They came to Auburn for a reason. You came to Auburn to go play in these games, not just playing them, but to win them. Mm-hmm. You came to Auburn to build something special. You could start it right here. You could go shock a lot of people. And people say, oh, it's a 7.5 point spread. Is that really shocking the world? Where when you look at where Auburn's came from, basically having to crawl out of hell, in what's gone on the last few years, this team can go to Kyle Field and do something that not only, keeps them on the right track, but shoots them to the moon. You have recruits that are looking at this game too and kind of seeing how Auburn performs. So with what Hugh Freeze is doing, like I said at the beginning, you got to understand reality. But I would not be shocked at all, because they get on that bus, they're going to kick somebody's ass now. They're not going out there just to play, just to have fun and say you played over there. They're going out there to make somebody pay the price for it. And if A&M doesn't watch out, they're going to pay the price, and the boosters are going to have to pay a big price. Yeah, and I hope they're going to have to, because if Auburn wins on Saturday, I don't think Jimbo keeps his job. I'm not saying it happens this week, but they better beat Bama.
They better beat Bama at home. They better beat LSU. They better beat Ole Miss. They play Tennessee. They're going to lose some more games, even if they don't lose on Saturday. They're going to lose some more games. So that's probably going to happen regardless. But Auburn could definitely jumpstart that process for them starting 2-2. Man, I know the coaching staff, and I've talked to several of the players. They all say, it's just 1 week at a time. They're all important. But this one for Hugh Freeze, it has to matter more. I mean, he fought and scratched and clawed to get back into the SEC for a shot at this. And this just has to mean so much for him and the coaching staff. And then this team loves him so much. It has to impact them to some extent. So that's the part of it where everything off field, I think, points towards Auburn, with the exception of it being in College Station. But Auburn's actually done pretty well in College Station. I don't even know if that really matters. It is weird.
It's weird. Yeah. It's kind of weird, funny how football is. You go have success in College Station, but God forbid you play Arkansas at 11 in the morning.
That's
at
right.
Home.
That's right.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this: the goal is to have a nameless opponent, right? The goal is for it to be about yourself, but you're dealing with human beings, right? It's you're trying to get as close to that point as possible, and this game's bigger than Samford. This game is bigger than UMass. This game is bigger than Cal. And I'm sure there'll be a moment on the field where Hugh Freeze is by himself and, just thinks, hey, I'm back where I feel like I belong. He gets a second chance. He's earned a second chance. And those players, they do love him. You want to know why? Because they know deep down he cares about them as people, not just as football players. And if I'm going to ask you to go run into another 300-pound grown man at full speed, or take some of the hits, or go through the battles that these guys go through, I better trust you and believe that you care about me as a person first and as a player second. A lot of times, Zach, that's the difference on 4th and 1. That's the difference in that goal line stop. That's the difference on that timeout and that huddle when everybody's looking each other in the eyes. And you don't even have to say anything. Nobody has to say a word. You've been through it together. So when I look at this team and I look at Hugh Freeze, if anybody can do it, they can. But if they don't, no time to panic, no time to get upset or think, Rome is burning, because the trajectory is a good one.
My 3-year-old really tried hard to make her Locked On Auburn debut just then. But
look, she's going to be taking your job soon anyway, Zach. So
she can have it. She can have it. Now, but the stiff arm, the off-camera stiff arm, I thought was pretty elite. I hate y'all missed that. So
no, dude, I'm sure.
Jake, how can people check out everything you've got going on, buddy?
Yeah, man, really easy. Probably the easiest way you can see my Twitter handle, X handle, whatever it's called this week, right below. But if you're listening, go to YouTube. It's Crain and Company, Crain and Company. We're live each weekday morning. 6:30 a.m. Central to 8 a.m. Central, but it stays on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. We have a Saturday show that we drop late Friday night. We got David Pollack as our guest picker on our version of Game Day this Saturday, and then we have a Sunday recap show. So we're putting out content every single day. If you like talking ball, we have live calls, live chat. We talk basically everything about every team. So come hang out with us.
Yes, it's absolutely worth your time. Be sure to check it out, folks. You can find all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.